Before we dive into this incredible story, make sure you're part of our journey. Hit that subscribe button, turn on notifications, and get ready for a story that will leave you thinking. And if you love inspiring tales, a like goes a long way. We need a minimum of $12,000 up front. The words sliced through the hospital lobby like a scalpel. The mother's unconscious body grew heavier in her son's trembling arms as hope drained from his face. Behind his wire-rimmed glasses, tears began to form. The pristine reception area fell silent. Chrome fixtures gleamed under fluorescent lights, reflecting the desperation in the young man's eyes. Other patients shifted uncomfortably in plush leather chairs, pretending not to notice. The administrator's manicured fingernails tapped impatiently on the keyboard, eyes never leaving the screen. In the corner, partially hidden behind yesterday's newspaper, a man in a worn leather jacket watched. His long dark hair couldn't disguise the unmistakable profile. As the son's pleas grew more desperate and his mother's breathing more labored, Keanu Reeves slowly folded his newspaper and stood. If this moment made you feel something, imagine what's coming next. Hit that like button and stay with us. Subscribe now. Michael Torres hadn't slept in 36 hours. His mother had collapsed during their Sunday dinner, her fork clattering against the plate as her left side went limp. The ambulance had taken them to County General first, where they'd waited for 7 hours before being told they needed specialized care not available there. He'd spent his last dollars on the Uber to this private clinic, Highland Medical Center, known for its advanced stroke treatment. "Please," Michael whispered, his voice cracking. "The doctors at County said she has less than 3 hours before permanent damage. I can get the money, but I need treatment started now." His mother's breathing had become shallow, her lips taking on a bluish tint that hadn't been there before. The left side of her face drooped noticeably, and Michael could feel her body temperature dropping against his arms. The administrator, her name tag read Diane, didn't even look up from her screen. "Our policy is clear, sir. We require payment verification before treatment begins. Perhaps you could try applying for emergency credit." Her voice remained mechanical, rehearsed. A small line had begun to form behind Michael, other patients shifting their weight impatiently. A security guard near the entrance straightened slightly, watching the developing situation with practiced vigilance. "I've already tried my credit cards. They're maxed from Dad's funeral last month." Michael's voice rose, drawing more stares. "This is my mother. She's having a stroke. Every minute we waste." His words caught in his throat as he looked down at his mother's ashen face. A woman in designer clothes sitting nearby pulled her purse closer, as if poverty might be contagious. A businessman in an expensive suit loudly cleared his throat, signaling his annoyance at the delay. In the corner of the lobby, Keanu Reeves set down his coffee cup. He hadn't planned to be here today. He was just waiting for a friend who was getting a routine checkup. Wearing jeans, boots, and his favorite worn leather jacket, he'd hoped to remain anonymous, hidden behind his newspaper. But something in the young man's desperate voice cut through his practiced public detachment. Keanu watched as Diane, the administrator, handed Michael a clipboard with insurance forms. "Fill these out completely. Once we've verified payment method, we can begin intake procedures." Her eyes flicked briefly to the unconscious woman, then back to her screen. The security guard had moved closer now, anticipating trouble. Michael's hand shook so badly he could barely hold the clipboard, and a tear splashed onto the pristine form, smudging the ink as he tried to write. His mother's breathing had become more labored, each intake a visible struggle that twisted something deep in Keanu's chest. Things are about to take a turn. Don't miss what happens next. Subscribe, like our video, and keep watching. "My mother is dying right in front of you." Michael's voice cracked as he balanced the clipboard against his mother's body. "How can you just sit there?" Other patients were openly staring now, some uncomfortable, others filming discreetly with their phones. The pristine lobby had become a stage, with Michael and his mother unwilling performers in a tragic play. Diane sighed, finally meeting Michael's eyes. "Sir, I understand you're upset, but there's nothing I can do. Hospital policy is very clear." She gestured to a framed document on the wall emblazoned with the clinic's logo. "We require payment verification before treatment. Perhaps there's someone you could call. A relative. A friend with better financial resources." Her gaze flickered dismissively over his worn jeans and scuffed shoes. Michael's face flushed with humiliation as he realized some bystanders were nodding in agreement with Diane, as if his inability to produce $12,000 instantly was some kind of moral failure rather than economic reality. "I don't have anyone else," Michael admitted, his voice barely audible. His mother's head lolled against his shoulder and he adjusted his grip, arms burning with exhaustion. Keanu Reeves set his newspaper down completely now, watching the scene unfold with growing concern. He recognized something in Michael that resonated deeply, the fierce protection of a loved one, regardless of the cost. It reminded him of his own sister's battle with leukemia years ago, the helplessness he'd felt despite having resources Michael clearly lacked. "Sir, if you cannot provide payment verification, I'll need to ask you to leave." Diane's voice had hardened as she nodded subtly toward the security guard. "County General can provide basic stabilization." The guard took a step forward, hand resting casually on his belt. A woman with a young child moved away from the confrontation, while others continued to record the drama on their phones, faces glowing in the electronic light. "She'll die before county can help her." Michael's voice had changed, desperation giving way to a hollow acceptance. "They sent us here because they don't have the specialist or equipment she needs." His knees buckled slightly under his mother's weight, and he struggled to maintain his balance. A small, frightened sound escaped his mother's lips, her first noise since arriving, and Michael's face crumpled at the sound, tears now flowing freely down his cheeks. The security guard reached for Michael's elbow. "Sir, I'm going to have to escort you out now." Several onlookers turned away, unwilling to witness what was coming next. An elderly couple whispered to each other, their faces twisted with concern but taking no action. The businessman checked his watch impatiently. "Please," Michael begged one final time, his voice now a broken whisper. "She's all I have left." Diane's finger hovered over the button to call for additional security when a quiet, steady voice cut through the tension. "I'll take care of it." The words weren't shouted, but they carried across the lobby with unmistakable authority. Heads turned as Keanu Reeves stood and crossed the glossy floor, his boots echoing in the sudden silence. The phones recording the scene now swiveled to capture the unexpected celebrity, but Keanu's eyes remained fixed on Michael and his mother. "Get her admitted. Now." Keanu's voice was calm but firm as he reached the reception desk. There was no hint of his screen persona, no dramatic gestures or catchphrases, just the quiet intensity of a man who recognized a moment where money should never stand between a person and their survival. This story is only getting deeper. What would you do in this situation? Comment below, and let's talk. Diane blinked, recognition dawning slowly on her face. "Mr. Reeves, she began, but Keanu cut her off with a raised hand. "Her admission first. Paperwork later." Each word carried the weight of quiet authority. Michael stood frozen, his mother's weight still in his arms, hardly daring to believe what was happening. The people filming had multiplied, their phones capturing every moment of the unexpected intervention. "I'll need to speak with my supervisor about bypassing the payment protocol," Diane stammered, already reaching for her phone. Keanu leaned forward slightly, his voice low enough that only she could hear the next words. "Call the supervisor. Call the neurologist. Call whoever needs to be called. But this woman needs help now, not after some financial verification." He straightened, speaking louder now. "And yes, I'll cover whatever costs are necessary." The lobby had fallen completely silent, every eye watching as Diane's professional facade cracked under the pressure of both celebrity and basic humanity. Diane pressed a button under her desk, and within seconds, double doors behind her swung open as two nurses emerged with a gurney. Michael's legs nearly gave out with relief as they gently took his mother from his arms, their practiced movements a stark contrast to the administrative paralysis of moments before. Severe stroke symptoms, left side facial drooping, loss of consciousness, one nurse called out, already checking vital signs as they transferred the frail woman to the gurney. "How long since onset?" she asked Michael, who was stumbling alongside them, still in shock. "About 3 hours," he managed, his voice raw. "County General said." "We'll take it from here," the second nurse assured him as they began moving quickly through the doors, monitors already being attached to his mother's chest and fingers. "The neurologist is being paged." Michael turned back toward Keanu, who remained by the desk, filling out paperwork. His hands were shaking so badly he could barely stand. "I don't know how I'll ever repay you," he began, tears streaming down his face. "My mother is—" "Go with her," Keanu interrupted gently. "She needs you right now. This," he gestured at the paperwork, "is just money." His eyes met Michael's with quiet understanding. Money can be borrowed or repaid. Time can't. The security guard, now switching roles entirely, guided Michael through the double doors. "This way, sir," he said, his previous authoritative tone replaced with something closer to respect. As the doors swung closed behind them, Keanu turned back to Diane, who was now flustered and apologetic. The lobby remained unusually quiet, the previously impatient patients subdued by what they'd witnessed. Phone cameras continued to record silently. "I understand you have protocols," Keanu said, his voice carrying clearly across the hushed space as he signed the last form. "But maybe the protocol could include treating the emergency first and sorting the payment second." He slid his credit card across the counter. "No one should have to beg for their mother's life while you verify their credit score." Diane's face flushed deep red as she processed the payment, unable to meet his eyes. Throughout the lobby, several people shifted uncomfortably, suddenly aware of their own complicity in what they'd been watching, a human drama they'd been content to film rather than help resolve. It's not over yet. The best part is coming. Make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss it. Three hours later, Keanu sat quietly in the hospital cafeteria, a cooling cup of coffee between his hands. He'd missed his appointment with his friend, but some things were more important. Michael emerged from the elevator, exhaustion etched in every line of his face, but something new shining in his eyes. "They got to her in time," he said, his voice cracking with emotion as he slid into the chair across from Keanu. "The doctor said if we'd waited even 20 more minutes..." He couldn't finish the sentence. "She's going to need rehabilitation, but she's going to recover." Keanu nodded, relief washing over his face. "That's wonderful news." "I don't know how to thank you," Michael began again. "I can pay you back over time, even if it takes years." Keanu shook his head, stopping Michael mid-sentence. "There's no debt." He pushed a business card across the table. Not his own, but one with the hospital's logo and the name of a patient advocate. "I spoke with the hospital's financial department. There's a program for cases like your mother's. This person will help you navigate it." Michael stared at the card in disbelief. They never mentioned any program at the front desk. Sometimes people forget what these places are actually for, Keanu said softly. Healing should come before billing. He glanced around the cafeteria where several staff members were pretending not to watch them. The administrator, Diane, she's been asked to review the emergency admission policies. Apparently, there's been some discussion about it for a while, but your situation made it urgent. By evening, the video had spread across social media platforms. Not the typical celebrity sighting, but something far more powerful. A moment of genuine humanity cutting through bureaucratic indifference. Comments flooded in by the thousands, many sharing similar stories of healthcare barriers, others expressing renewed faith and compassion. The hospital issued a statement announcing a policy review for emergency admissions, emphasizing that no patient in crisis will be delayed treatment due to payment verification. News outlets picked up both the story and the policy change, expanding the impact beyond one mother's life to potentially thousands. When asked about the incident days later, Keanu simply shrugged. "It wasn't about me," he said, deflecting the praise. "It was about doing what should have been done anyway." What the cameras didn't capture, what Michael would keep private, was Keanu's parting words in the hospital cafeteria. The true measure of a society isn't how it treats its most privileged citizens, but how it cares for those in their most vulnerable moments. We all just needed a reminder of that. Wow, what a story. If this moved you, imagine what else we have for you. Hit that like button, drop a comment, and let us know what you think.